Dive in on Gotta Watch the Tape from cleveland.com. Doug Lesmerises, Scott Patsko, and Lance Reisland digging in, Scott, on Amari Cooper. You wanted us to do this. Lance, you did a great breakdown at cleveland.com about Cooper's route running. Some very specific things in there about eyes and angles and blind spots that we will cover on this podcast on Gotta Watch the Tape. Scott, as always, you've got numbers to sort of help guide us through here. But the bottom line is it's been an interesting offseason for the Browns. And the Deshaun Watson situation was such a tsunami that it's like, hey, remember when the Browns traded for a number one receiver? Oh, that was cool. So we're doubling back, right? We're doubling back on some football. We're doubling back on a guy that, as you said in your film review, Lance, is a true number one receiver. So, Scott, let's start with that. How could this change the Browns offense? This guy's going to get a lot of passes thrown his way. Scott Patsko, dive in on Amari Cooper on Gotta Watch the Tape.
Yeah, first, in terms of how the crazy the offseason has been, if I had told you at the beginning of all this that the Browns would add Amari Cooper to the offense, and that would not be the biggest addition the Browns made to the offense this offseason.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty, who's going to believe that?
Pretty crazy. I remember, like, they traded for Amari Cooper, and my column the next day was like, Baker Mayfield better use him. And Andrew Berry was like, oh, no. Don't you worry about that, Dougie. It's all good.
Yeah, we got other plans.
Yeah.
So last week we looked at Deshaun Watson and what he brings to the offense. So this week, we want to look at the guy who, whether it's Watson or Jacoby Brissett for a significant portion of the season, will be throwing to the most.
When you look, I was looking at the 2019 NFL stats, which is like Cooper's best yardage season. His yards per catch compared to a lot of guys is pretty darn good. I mean, he's up there. He's more at like 15 yards per catch. Some other guys, Michael Thomas that year led the league in receiving. He's like 11 yards per catch. That as much as it's like, we're very interested in volume, make sure you feed this guy. He's put up some big numbers without having 100 receptions, right? What does this mean? Is he going to make the Browns more explosive? Lance, I thought it was interesting. You said he can run this levels concept. You're making me smarter, Lance. I'm making me smart about football. But the idea that like he can be at any level of that is very interesting to me. Scott, how explosive do you think he'll be, though?
Yeah, I do agree. I think 2019 in a lot of ways was his best year, and he had a great year on deep passes, on deep catches in 2019. He tied for first in Pro Football Focus grading on passes of 20 yards or more, 99.9. The scale only goes to 100. He was tied with 9 other players, a group that includes Stephon Diggs, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, also Kenny Stills of the Texans, for what it's worth.
Who was being thrown to by Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. So there's a nice connection for you. Cooper had 15 catches on 24 targets, and this is on deep passes, for 503 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 drops. Dak Prescott's passer rating when targeting Cooper on those passes was 145.8, which ranks second. Last season, Cooper ranked 11th in deep passing grade, still pretty close to 198.8, catching 11 of 21 for 309 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did not have a drop, and the passer rating 137.4, which ranks 6. So this is all great news for the Browns, especially after adding a quarterback in Watson, who has consistently been among the league leaders in deep passing completion percentage and also making big time throws on deep passes. Browns have not been an explosive passing offense under Kevin Stefanski.
What?
That's not breaking news.
Are
you just learning of this?
What? Oh, sorry. A 6-yard pass to Austin Hooper is not considered an explosive play. Is that correct? Okay. No. Analytics confuse me sometimes. Sorry.
No, running 5 yards, catching the ball, falling down is not an explosive play. So the Browns did, however, lead the league last season in explosive run rate.
Yeah, they did.
In fact, they led the league the last 2 seasons in that stat, but they ranked 14th in explosive pass play rate last season and 13th in 2020. So not horrible, but certainly not. It's got an odd balance with what their running game is. And then you add Cooper, and you expect him to help with that, especially, like I said, when you had Deshaun Watson, who ranked 4th in DVOA on go and fly routes in 2020. So you're combining 2 guys who are really good at connecting deep down the field. But again, you take elite route running and you combine that with size and speed. He ran a 4.340 at his combine 2015. All that gives the Browns something they haven't had on the roster in a long time. Probably not since Josh Gordon, if you're talking about somebody who can be physical size-wise, who can be fast. And again, I don't think Josh Gordon was the route runner that Amari Cooper is, but if you're looking for a high bar set by a wide receiver for the Browns, you probably have to go back to Josh Gordon to find that. And that was 9 years ago. So it's time for the Browns to have a dynamic, explosive receiver. And Cooper certainly seems like he can be that guy.
How much is Cooper's route running part of being explosive and helping him get open for some of these shots down the field?
Well, first of all, the shots downfield, I really like. The receivers really got to help the receiver, and Watson's really good at it, and Cooper is going to be really good at it. But when you see a receiver, he's got to give himself some space from the hash to the sidelines and allow the quarterback to decide where the defender is. So that's one thing he does really well. He tracks the ball very well, but he makes it very easy for the quarterback to kind of move him where he wants. If you see those balls that are missed, those cornerbacks are trying to press those receivers to the sideline, which makes it very, very there's very small window to catch the ball there. In terms of his route running, he does some great things. And the one thing we talk about, blind spots, that's recognizing that it's zone coverage and that cornerback's looking in towards the quarterback, and he presses that outside shoulder so he can. There's a point where that cornerback literally can't see him. And then on his double moves, he's fantastic at double moves in terms of he'll run a slant and a sluggo, and he'll drive his eyes to the quarterback on that slant. And when those eyes go, the defender goes. And those little things, those little details that he does with his eyes and his hips and his angles, he gets him wide open. So when he drives on that slant, if his head goes, it's really, really good. So his head goes and then the defender goes, because those defenders really react to the eyes. So those little things he does so well, and he does them on every single route. And then one of the things that I mentioned in the article is he really tracks the ball well in the air coming down. It's not an easy trait to catch that, that ball coming in from a bomb. So he does a really, really good job of finding it, tracking it, and bringing it in.
It starts with Deshaun Watson. Again, if it was Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski, we would just be like, well, he's good, but I don't know. Deshaun Watson's what's going to make this work. But imagine Deshaun Watson, imagine doing what they did, sort of taking this risk, taking this on, paying $230 million, and then not having a number one receiver. Then we'd be like, what? Where are they now? He's going to throw to Anthony Schwartz 16 times a game. So it's the pairing. It's the pairing of this coupled with the line, coupled with the backs, coupled with Njoku. It's like, okay, here we go.